Welcome to the Y on Earth Community Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron William Perry, and today we are visiting with Sydney Steinberg and her son, Harrison. Hey guys.
Hey Aaron, how are you?
Great, how you doing?
Doing good.
Let me share with folks that we're talking today about Colorado Rooted, a 501c3 charity that is seeking to plant 1 million trees in the state of Colorado. We'll talk a lot more about what Colorado Rooted is up to and what you guys are doing. And let me give folks a little background. Sydney, you are a mom to 3 incredible children and brand consultant, helping entrepreneurs build, create, and grow key concepts to strengthen brand awareness. Sydney was hired by Kelly Foster, the founder of Colorado Rooted, when it was just an idea on a napkin. And she quickly found her passion centered around healing the planet through positive actions and sustainable choices. Sydney believes every day we have opportunities to make small decisions that can help protect our planet, and strives to use Colorado Rooted as a model to be used for generations to come. Speaking of generations to come, Harrison, her son, is a junior at Denver School of the Arts, and he's actually the mastermind behind the Garden in a Box idea that we'll be discussing, and is instrumental to bringing youth into the Colorado Rooted program. Harrison's into mountain biking and loves being in the mountains, which is very similar to my son Hunter, who's the same age, actually, it turns out. And Sydney and Harrison, I'm so glad we could connect and have this conversation here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Aaron. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So why don't you guys fill us in here? What's Colorado Rooted doing, and what are you guys up to? It's so exciting.
Yeah, well, Colorado Rooted started with a mission that was pretty simple. Kelly Foster, who is a veteran to the green industry for 30 years, he wanted to bring trees to families in Colorado. Beyond just sustainability, he wanted to make sure that every family in Colorado had the opportunity to plant a tree. And so his outreach became, how do I plant 1 million trees in Colorado? How do I accomplish this goal? And really the strength of Colorado Rooted is it's built on everyone in Colorado. We're taking this to be able to take it to schools, to families, to communities, to be able to plant 1 tree. So if every family in Colorado plants 1 tree in their backyard, we easily accomplish our goal. So that's
really
kind of, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's kind of how it started. That's where the vision started.
You know, I'm so excited. We're going to be sharing some very special opportunities for folks right in the Metro Denver Front Range of Colorado. And for our listeners who are farther away, you guys are also preparing a blueprint that can be adopted in other communities, really all around the country, all around the world. And so I'm really excited that not only are you on the ground making it happen right here in this amazing state, you're also developing tools and resources that can be used by a lot of other communities.
Yeah, it's fundamental. I mean, Colorado Rooted is not a for-profit business in any way. It is Kelly's vision is that Colorado Rooted belong to the people. That the people basically, built Colorado Rooted so that it's helpful and builds the urban canopy in Colorado Rooted, but it's really belongs to everyone. So yeah, so that's basically, the blueprint is that we want to be able to take this concept and give this to anybody that wants to create this so that they could plant 1 million trees in their community as well too.
That's so great. So Harrison, let's hear from you. What is it about this project that has your attention and excitement, and how are your peers responding to this?
Well, after being surrounded by Colorado rooted for the past couple of months now, and being in quarantine, we had noticed that it was really hard to start our garden, which is something that we do annually. So, and we realized that it was a difficulty that a lot of people in Colorado and Denver specifically were having was like sourcing their plants and stuff. So I decided that it would be great to use our resources, being partnered with Kelly and all of that experience to create a system where people, families with kids and specific have access to these vegetables and fruits and stuff that they can plant in their gardens. And it's a lot easier than if you were to go source it yourself, especially during quarantine, because it's
Yeah,
difficult to do stuff like that. So that's kind of where this idea started.
that's right. That's great. And what sorts of vegetables and fruits are you guys focused on?
Well, so we have like three levels right now. So we have like the garden in a box, which is the flagship one, I guess you would say. So that has all sorts of vegetables from lettuce and tomatoes and other stuff like that. And then there's the salsa garden, and that consists of peppers and tomatillos, I believe, and other stuff to make salsas. And then there's also the herb box, which is just like basil and oregano and other stuff like that.
Oh, I love it. This is so great.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty, and all of them are delivered directly to your home, so it just makes it easy to get.
right, super easy. And where are you guys sourcing the seeds and the materials you're putting together for folks?
Everything is coming from local sources in Colorado. So we've partnered with several different nurseries to be able to provide the veggies this year. And then we've also teamed with a tree grower who is providing fruit trees that can be planted as well too. So we
Yeah,
have apple and cherry and pear and plum trees that are all available in 7 to 15 gallon containers that can be delivered, and they also come with a raspberry bush and a blueberry bush, I believe. Just kind of depends on what's available, but right now that's what we have. So but the orchard in the box is great because that works towards accomplishing our goal of planting 1 million trees in Colorado. But we definitely try to keep um, our the prices as low as possible
yeah.
to be able to provide, because planting a tree has so much more value, or planting a garden has so much more value than what you first think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it reminds me, there's this, I've heard it described as a Chinese proverb that says, um, the question is, when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 20 years ago. And then the question
Exactly.
is, when's the next best time? And the answer is right now. And
Right.
tree planting is such it's a really a gift of generosity to the future, right? Because many of these trees take a number of years to mature, and in a way, planting trees is one of the biggest gifts we can give to the future. Not only is it great for future generations of humans, but obviously it's also creating more diverse habitat for all kinds of other creatures in the ecosystems where we're living. And one of the things we're focused on at the Y on Earth community is how can we, in our urban and suburban environments in particular, use strategies of food forests, of permaculture, to create much more robust micro ecosystems effectively that, yes, are going to provide us some very healthy fruits, vegetables, and culinary and medicinal herbs, but are also going to really boost the ecological vitality in our home, basically our home environment, our neighborhood. And I love what you guys are doing because it really makes this an easy process for lots of different families to take that step to start to create these food forests. And by golly, as more and more of us are doing this, we can probably in 5-10 years create an incredible abundance and an amazingly healthy and vibrant living environment in our communities, right? I imagine it's really exciting to share that vision with folks.
Yeah, and I mean, a tree has so much value, as you were saying, and you know, like going back to what you said about planting a tree 20 years ago,
Mhm.
when Kelly started Colorado Rooted, he envisioned, and what he ultimately wants is that tree represents a strong family and a strong family unit. You know, there are so many climate environmental benefits, which I'm not downplaying at all, but a tree can be so much more. It can be a place of daydreaming. You can read a book under a tree. You can swing in the shade with a tree. And you hear those stories about families that plant the tree. And maybe they move away from their home, but they go back and that tree still stands and it's strong and it's tall, and it brings back all of these memories from that family unit. And that really is kind of the source of strength for many families, is gathering in the backyard, playing baseball, barbecues, sitting outside in the shade, having that. So a tree is really worth so much more than we really give it value to. And I think Kelly's vision for Colorado Rooted is seated deeply in the family system of having access to these trees to be able to provide that same sort of memories and strength for that as well.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I'll mention too that one of the things we're excited to explore partnering further with the Wide Earth community, as you guys are rolling out the template and resources for folks to use in other communities. On our global resources map, which you can find on whyonearth.org, we're already starting to map locations of ambassadors of projects, and in some cases of nurseries where trees can be found and so forth in other communities. And so we're excited to collaborate to help you guys bring this to the broader world, and to help weave together a lot of these relationships, because clearly with this sort of model, that connection to nurseries is really important, and making sure that we're selecting varieties, species that are climate appropriate for our given regions and so on. And I imagine with Kelly's background, particularly as an arborist, he's got an amazing wealth of knowledge that can really help lots of families.
He does. And actually, we work with several experts in Colorado that really guide us and help us, and really looking to see what is going to be the best for different communities. We're working with the school. COVID kind of put a little a damper on our plans, but we were working with the school in Brighton, who did a big fundraising project at the beginning of the year. And they wanted to be able to provide bees and trees to the students. It was kind of the theme of their project. And so we were planned to deliver each one of those students a tree for them to plant. So we worked closely with Brighton to see which trees they would prefer to have in that community, which ones they support the most. And so that's how we picked that. But it all comes from working with experts to not plant a palm tree in Colorado, which obviously won't grow, but to be able to plant something that is going to grow and be successful in our dry climate or any climate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and this whole connection with schools is so powerful. And you were sharing with me, Sydney, that you guys are also thinking about strategies for schools to do fundraising, right? A lot of schools, a lot of PTAs are doing fundraisers at different points in the year, and this presents a whole new opportunity that is not only a great way for schools to raise much needed funds, but it's not like selling candy or something. This is bringing a lot more benefit to the communities where those schools are located.
Yeah, it definitely has so many strengths in what we're doing by being able to provide a tree to each family based on something that the school has done. So back to my example, the school that we were working with, they were able to raise all of this. I think they did a penny drive initially, and they raised several $1,000s, and then they could have definitely bought every kid a T-shirt, or they could have had a ice cream party, but they really wanted to do something environmentally sound. So working with us, each child was going to carry home a tree that they could plant. And there's so much value in a kid or a child planting a tree to see that grow. There's actually studies that prove that planting trees or gardens or caring for something actually reduces stress, you know, improves cardiovascular health, longevity. There are just numerous aspects of taking care of a garden or a tree that really go far. So being able to give that to a child is definitely really beneficial, because a lot of children don't experience having a garden, don't experience what it means to plant and care for a tree. So being able to take that really can enrich their lives in many ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, in the book Why on Earth, I talked about how there's a lot of research showing that literally just looking at living trees for 5 to 10 minutes measurably reduces stress hormones in the bloodstream. And engaging with plants, engaging with soil physically, we know also boosts our immune systems, right? And right now in this time of COVID, obviously that's a whole nother realm that's really important to be talking about, is boosting our immunity, boosting our health and well-being, and connecting in the garden, connecting with the soil, connecting with the trees is key in all of that. And of course, as parents, we also see there's research showing that spending time with trees and with the soil improves cognitive performance, right? And we think about how many parents and families are trying to, come up with different ways for students to have a more positive experience in school and with learning and all of that. And it turns out that getting that time with the trees, with the soil, is actually a really effective way to boost that aspect of our lives as well. And I'm wondering, Harrison, I'm thinking about how much you love getting in the mountains and mountain biking and all that. And I'm curious, what's it like for you when you're out in the woods and maybe take a break for some water or something and you're surrounded by trees? What's that like?
Well, yeah, that's always been really important, and it's always one of my favorite parts of being outside in the mountains. And definitely on rides that I do a lot, I have specific parts of the ride that I like to stop at for water, that I know I like to look at what's around me, and I think that's really cool and important. But yeah, just like that's one of the most rewarding parts about being in the mountains for me, is getting to kind of stop what you're doing and take in what's around you.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Yeah, my son is, as I mentioned, your age, and he also loves getting out in the mountains. And it's a way we get to, I think, nourish ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and it's a gift. And to be able to bring more of that kind of forest canopy into our urban and suburban environments is just a huge opportunity that, it strikes me that some of our friends in the science community and even sci-fi community are talking about like terraforming Mars or whatever. And really, in a way, we have this enormous need and opportunity right in front of us to terraform parts of Earth. And trees and gardens are key in that. That really is the foundation of creating a much more sustainable and healthy future, right?
Oh, it's so important. And I agree with you. Just using what we have and the resources that we have to be able to, you know, improve our situation and improve our environment is key, rather than looking outward to a different solution. I think is fundamental to kind of, the human experience, always looking outward instead of inward. It's an important concept to take in. And I think, as nonprofit organization, we really see the opportunity for educating people, stopping, slowing down.
Yeah.
What can you do in your own backyard? What can you do in your home to create a more sustainable, environmentally friendly environment? What can you stop using? What are those things, instead of looking at it in this very large aspect, which, it starts at home. Definitely starts at home.
that's another really important thing I think about the Garden in the Box, is that it gets youth engaged with the environment, and also with Colorado Rooted and planting trees, is it gets these youth and like families engaged with their environment in ways that they ordinarily would not be. And this action, I think, is going to have not only the immediate benefit of planting the trees and watching that grow, but also forming these new ideas in these kids' minds that's going to make them more environmentally conscious as they grow up and for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, it's such a critical point, right? And I think that the educational systems have really been struggling with this fact that, you know, books and classrooms and chalkboards, you know, are obviously really important resources, but they can't convey all that there is to convey in the human experience. And connecting with living plants, connecting with the soil, with the gardens, is providing an enormous, rich educational experience that in many ways just can't be accessed through something like a book. And one could say that one of the biggest weaknesses of modern society is that so many of us are living really quite disconnected from the natural living biosphere and things like where our food comes from and so on. And these little gestures of planting trees and gardens in our neighborhoods provide such an enormous solution to that problem. And as you guys are out there and others are out there engaging more and more thousands and millions of families, that's a way to really transform our culture in such a positive manner. And I'm so excited about what you guys are doing, and really excited to share that folks can go to coloradorooted.com. If you're in the Metro Denver Boulder Front Range region of Colorado, you can order the trees, the garden in a box, salsa garden herb box, orchard in a box. And you can also order the shirts and hats wherever you're located. And Harrison and Sydney are actually wearing the shirt and the hat, respectively, in reverse order, I guess. And then again, for our friends and Y on Earth community colleagues all around the country and worldwide, check out coloradorooted.com to get information and to access the blueprints and tools you can use to create something similar in your community. You know, again, as Sydney said, some of those resources will be coming out a bit later in the year, but a great way to engage. You can also find Colorado Rooted on Facebook. It's facebook.com Colorado Rooted. So really, really great to have those resources right at our fingertips right now. And while I'm at it, let me just give a huge shout out to all of the folks supporting the Y on Earth Community podcast. And this includes a bunch of people who have joined our monthly giving program. If you haven't yet joined and you'd like to, you can go to yonearth.org/support and join at any level. Additionally, we want to give a special shout out and thanks to the Lidge Family Foundation, Earth Coast Productions, Patagonia, Purium, Earth Water Press, and Waylay Waters. And Waylay Waters, as some of you know, has a very special monthly program for those who want to give at certain levels to Y on Earth. You'll receive monthly shipments of these beautiful handmade hemp aromatherapy infused soaking salts, and you can go to yonearth.org/waylay-waters for that. Want to also mention that Sydney and the team at Colorado Rooted are setting forth a very special code that can be used, Y on Earth, so that when you purchase any of the kits, 10% of that purchase will be donated to the Y on Earth community to help us further spread this kind of information throughout Colorado, throughout the United States, and worldwide. And Sydney, thanks to you and the team for that. It's just a wonderful win-win, generous gesture you guys are making there. And I'm so thrilled. I hope that as this is going forward, you're also going to be encouraging families to take photos and videos so that there's also this sense of us sharing the stories of what's happening. And I'm curious, have you guys begun playing with that at all? Is that something you're seeing some excitement around?
Yeah, as we initially launched in December with our first tree initiative, which was a beautiful Colorado blue spruce. It was actually a miniature version of the traditional huge blue spruce for families, but as that was our first tree that we offered to Colorado families, and we had great success with that. It started in December. So I imagine those families are just now getting ready to plant those trees. But one thing that we've asked families to do is to send us photos of their trees and their families with their trees. We call it respectively tree stories, so that families can share that and also become part of the Colorado Rooted family. Any purchase of a product from Colorado Rooted or initiative to plant a tree really is the foundation. And so we see anybody that is taking that initiative as a family member in Colorado Rooted and really a supporter. So we do encourage families to bring us their stories and tell us a story about, the beautiful trees in their yard or the beautiful trees that they have in their community that way as well too.
This is so exciting, and I have to share full disclosure that Sydney, you and I have known each other, I think, since like middle school or
A very
thereabouts.
long time.
Been a
A very
while,
long time,
and
yes.
it's such a joy to see so many of our friends and peers with their children, with their families, engaging in this kind of activity. And Denver, Colorado is near and dear to many of our hearts, and to see our culture in this area responding more and more to the sustainability, the regeneration, and the stewardship call is just beautiful. And I'm so excited to know you're out there reaching so many more families and helping this to take hold in neighborhoods really all over. And I'm curious, have you had any of our old pals reach out and engage in any of this yet?
Oh, I think there has been a few. Colorado's and definitely the high school that we went to and areas we went to. They're large, but it's a small community.
Yeah.
So you don't go far from your community without running into a few of those old friends and then also supporting you. So I'd have to look back. I can't recall right now, but I do know that there's been a lot of interest by a lot of our old friends
Yeah.
that way. And luckily we grew up in a time where becoming environmentally friendly and sustainable was just emerging. I mean, in the early 90s, that was kind of the buzz and the talk, and getting rid of the aerosol hairspray and we kind of went through it. We all probably drove SUVs at some point and traded them in for a little better car, a little better gas mileage. But that did, I think all those influences have had a remarkable impact on all of us. And so a lot of people that have reached out to me share similar views. Gardening, several people that we used to go to school with, I know, have huge gardens, chickens and goats, you name it. So I think that as it grows, there'll be more and more interest though from those communities that we grew up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, this is one of the things that's so exciting about the power of social media in particular, is that, we're going to be sharing this podcast episode with as many folks as we can. And I think it helps us as humans. We're such social creatures, to see that our friends and our peers are taking on some of these new activities and behaviors, saying, hey, that's actually a really good idea. I'll do the same thing. And
Yeah.
that's a gift I want to give to my kids as well. And that to me is sort of the positive aspect of how peer pressure can work in a really good way in the world. And it's not even pressure, right? It's just kind of, I guess, pure inspiration or something. And I think it's such an important way for us to lead, humbly in our neighborhoods and communities in a way that is creating a better future for our kids. And it's so beautiful. Here you are with your son, and you guys are collaborating on this project. And Harrison, you're providing new ideas, and I'm wondering, Harrison, for you and for your peers, how are folks responding to what's going on in the environmental realm, what's going on with climate change and some of these pretty significant risks that we're facing? Is it something you see your age group responding to?
Well, amongst my peers, specifically in Colorado, there's a definite, especially in Colorado, there's a big kind of influence by the people that live with us and by our environment to be more environmentally conscious. So amongst my friends and specifically, we've definitely taken initiative to be more environmentally responsible. So one of my friends started the sustainability club at my school. So that was a thing that we did over the last 2 years where we volunteered in planting trees around parks in Denver. And then also we volunteered with environmentally sustainable companies. Like one, for example, was called Raft, where they support teachers and their resources for their schools, but all of the resources are made out of recycled recycled goods. So for example, they would have like science projects and stuff. They were all made out of recycled goods. And but yeah, so we've been taking, I feel like my generation has really taken a step forward in being environmentally conscious.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. And I see that with my kids as well. Let me ask this. I'm kind of curious. How is it for you dealing with this whole COVID situation, right? I know that it's really impacting students in a kind of unique way that some of us, parents maybe aren't experiencing directly, although we're seeing it with our kids. What's that been like for you?
Well, as far as like education goes, definitely like it's been difficult adapting to the new medium of like learning over the computer and not being there in person. And then like outside of the classroom, as far as like being my age, it's definitely hard to be away from my friends and not be able to hang out with them. And then also having limitations on being outside and going to the mountains, for example, has been difficult, just because that's such a big part of my life. And yeah, but those have been like the main challenges.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine it's really interesting to attempt to do all of our learning through technology. And clearly, technology has some amazing attributes and can be used for a lot of really beneficial things, but it's no substitute for real person to person interaction, just like looking at a digital image of a tree is no substitute for interacting directly with a real living tree. And I think in these times, that's probably one of the lessons that each of us is learning even more obviously in our own particular way. And I just, big shout out to you for your fortitude and your ability to remain positive and engaged in this kind of work, even while you're going through such a challenging experience. That speaks volumes.
Thank you.
I think giving kids the power to do something positive during a circumstance that might not be, favorable, like COVID, which is creating a lot of different parameters in our life. I think just giving, our youth the ability to do something that is important and helping them to fulfill that is so key to, getting through COVID, but getting it through other challenges in life as well too.
Yeah, absolutely, Sydney. Well, and what you're sharing with the world is such a beautiful and perfect, relatively simple and straightforward way to do this. And I'm so excited that we can help spread the word on this here in Colorado and well beyond Colorado. And I'm really happy to hear that you guys are creating tools and resources that other communities can utilize as well. I mean, that's just tremendous. And kudos to you for your leadership. And I know as a mom, that by itself is an extraordinary and incredibly important role that you're playing. And to weave this in to your mothering, I think is just beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's been been so fun. It's been fun to work with Harrison, and he's got some great ideas, and it brings a lot of energy to me, and gives me a lot of inspiration, even beyond doing something that I love, but being able to see my child really take the lead and develop his own entrepreneurial spirit and ideas and concepts, looking at how he can improve the world or the environment that he lives in is been so fun as a parent. Makes you feel pretty good that you've done something okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little too about this family hike concept, right? Because this was pretty central to the initial launch before COVID hit, and I think gives us something to look forward to in the future. Um, can you walk us through that, Sydney? What's that all about, and how can families engage down the road?
Well, one big area that needs a lot of attention with trees is in the high country, where we've maybe lost trees to pine beetles, or to wildfires, or just even from natural age in the trees and in the area. So we've been working with some of the local forestry departments to help reforest those areas by planting seedlings. And the whole concept is to get outside and take your family and go on a hike, a short little hike, and plant your tree somewhere along that area that needs reforestation. And we had planned that to happen this spring, but again, COVID kind of put a little halt in our plans. And so we're hoping that as soon as we can convene in groups again, that we'll be able to do that as well. But that is kind of central to the theme, is just getting families out, getting families to experience nature, getting them to take care of nature, to plant a tree. So it is a big initiative that we have, and hopefully next year we'll be able to do that family hike in spring.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be fun. Well, that's certainly something we can help promote through Y on Earth as well, in terms of
Oh, that'd be great.
getting more folks from this region together. I love that idea. Um, oh, this is so exciting. So I want to make sure that we're providing all the information you want to provide on this right now. ColoradoRooted.com. Can you just walk through again all the different options that you guys have available there right now?
Yeah, definitely. So if you visit the ColoradoRooted.com website, you will find options to either purchase a tree. You can also make a donation of any amount, so that will go towards funding for other people to plant trees. We try to source those trees out to families that we know that will be able to plant them and enjoy them, but maybe not afford them at the time. We try to, like I said, we try to keep those tree prices pretty reasonable. The tree that we have on there right now is we do have a blue spruce on there. It's $25 for you, that comes direct to your door. We also have an orchard in a box, which is going to be a bigger tree. It's going to be a 7 to 15 gallon tree. But for $115, you get a beautiful tree that you're able to plant, and also a raspberry and blueberry bush that comes with that. And those are all delivered right to your door. And then lastly, and this is Harrison's, key concept, is bringing the garden in the box. And those garden in the boxes are available. We have several different options. We have an herb box. We have a garden in the box, which is going to be, your variety of different vegetables. And then we also have this also in the box, like Harrison mentioned. So if you just want to have a small garden, both the herb garden and the salsa garden are going to be ideal for a little smaller areas. But we're having orders come in where people are ordering 2 and 3 of each for a very large garden. So it really can accommodate any size garden. We are limited by what is available in the nurseries, but we do try to keep it interesting. We keep it fun. It's definitely going to be vegetables that you will use. As we get a little bit warmer, it does become a little harder to get salad or lettuce and whatnot, but we do try our best to keep those varieties pretty interesting.
That's so great. It really is a wonderful array of options. And just so for those of us who are here in the Front Range area, what is the geographic extent of where you can do these home deliveries right now?
For the garden in the boxes, we can pretty much go anywhere in the metro area and beyond. So we are taking orders out in Fort Collins, Brighton, also in some in Colorado Springs, and we're able to get them to you in about a day after they ship. And we do keep them pretty fresh. In fact, we're expecting a big delivery right now that will all go out in the next day. So those vegetables, generally can go anywhere in the Colorado area. As far as the fruit trees, those we do limit. We have about 115 radius around the metro area that we'll deliver to. But if we do have enough orders in the high country or enough interest, we would definitely make a trip out there and take care of that as well too, or maybe do a pickup. But right now it's more focused in the metro area and surrounding areas. But in the future, I do see us expanding to the whole Colorado region.
That's so great. I'm curious, are you seeing any other similar models emerging in other states or urban centers?
I haven't seen anything as similar as ours, where we bring them directly to the homes, but I do know that the botanical gardens do a big plant sale every year. And I know that I believe it's Denver Water maybe has partnered with somebody that does a similar concept, but it is definitely on a larger scale.
Yeah.
That they're delivering a huge garden to, to people. But there are some out there, definitely Botanical Gardens does an amazing job with their plant sale every year. But this is a little bit more personal, direct to your home. And again, we are 100%, not for profit, definitely just working to increase, knowledge about Colorado Rooted and help families to plant a garden.
That's so wonderful. Well, let me just remind folks, Colorado Rooted is a 501c3 charity endeavoring to plant 1 million trees in the state of Colorado. And it's an organization built with families, schools, individuals who are planting trees and adopting trees and making donations to help get trees to others. And I want to just thank you guys both for being on the podcast and for doing this amazing work that you're doing. And before we sign off, want to make sure each of you has an opportunity to say anything else you might want to share with our Y on Earth community audience.
Oh, we're just so happy to be here and be able to make these connections. So much of our work is just finding, you have to excuse the dog, trying to get in the door if you hear that scratching, but so much of our work is just beyond working, with the concept, but also connecting with communities and building relationships. So we're just so happy to be able to have that opportunity to connect with the Y on Earth community.
And we're also encouraging families to take that leap forward to start a garden, maybe if they haven't had one in the past, but to take that initiative. And we really think that it's going to be a great thing for them to do for themselves and for their families. And it's just, we encourage it.
That's wonderful. Well, Harrison, thank you for joining us. And Sydney, thank you. And thanks for all the great work you guys are doing.
Well, thanks, Aaron. Thanks again for having us.
Absolutely. Take care. We'll see you out there planting trees.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
The Y on Earth Community Stewardship and Sustainability podcast series is hosted by Aaron William Perry, author, thought leader, and executive consultant. The podcast and video recordings are made possible by the generous support of people like you. To sign up as a daily, weekly, or monthly supporter, please visit yonearth.org/support. Support packages start at just $1 per month. The podcast series is also sponsored by several corporate and organization sponsors. You can get discounts on their products and services using the code YONEARTH, all one word with a Y. These sponsors are listed on the whyonearth.org/support page. If you found this particular podcast episode especially insightful, informative, or inspiring, please pass it on and share it with a friend whom you think will also enjoy it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. And thank you for being a part of the Why on Earth community.